Yeah.
The one piece that you mentioned the example of Bob Dylan or poets who have sort of helped facilitate, drive revolutions. There is a tendency when we think about those things to think about them the literal or the lyrical, right? In the case of the music, and the other examples you had, also talked about what abstract art can contribute, and
I
I
mean, we
think we
have the
also
same
need to
thing. You
think
have the
about.
Picassos. I mean, you have the Picassos. You have the melodies in Europe that have been political, that have no lyrics in them, that have moved people to do things. I mean, the same thing in our country. I mean, even and let's remember that it's not time bound. Now, when we sing Kabir today, let's take an example of
Exactly.
singing Kabir today. I know it's lyrical, partly lyrical. I know we're
Yeah.
going Vikram, but I'm still using it. It's also time doesn't bind it. Ideas also traverse. There's also a difference between reciting Kabir and so it's lyrical, but it's also beyond lyrical. If I just recite Kabir, you're not moved as much as when I sing Kabir. So even there is an abstraction which you can't like completely dissociate from. But sheer melodies are moved and moved people. Sound. I mean, theater is one space which has always been very political and very social and active. So I'm not discussing that. But I think we have so many cases of just melodies, tunes that have changed the way. I mean, you know of tunes that change the way you feel. I mean, there are composers across the globe who have done it. So, I mean, even in the abstract, or painters who've changed the idea of looking at things, So, keeping poets and literature and lyrics aside, I mean, it's all the world of art, of form. What about movement and dance? Change the notion of identity through movement.
I mean,
So
it's
many
funny.
things.
Growing up in the US, there is a big emphasis on extracurriculars, well-rounded development. At least when I was growing up there, and college applications. It was important that you did not purely have academic qualifications, but you were doing other things. So there was a value to that, uh, seen in a certain way. And then even if I translate that to corporate, um, today there's a lot of discussion around we need more human centric design, we need empathetic leadership. So these are things that they're now starting to make that connection with arts more explicit and say, look, that is an important facet for the company's ultimate mission. And so they value, therefore, employees who have an inclination towards arts and things like that. But I think it's also important to say we don't need artists to become employees in the company for this to work. We need to recognize the relationship with artists in society also. And so it's not so literal as saying we want
Yeah,
all our
yeah.
employees to be
In,
artists,
in
right?
fact, that problem with that is also its utilitarian
Correct.
perspective.
Correct.
Even in
Exactly.
that, I was just going to say, even in that, there is a complete utilitarian
Yeah.
perspective. Whether it's your application, if he is like this, he will therefore he will produce. Therefore, I can meet something. So it is
Yeah.
not. You can't connect it that way. Like you said, we should, as a society, if you think that way, then you're thinking that's when actually empathy is actually in operation. By the
Correct.
way,
Correct.
so anyway.
Um, Anna, you've talked a lot about how your journey as a musician and how your outlook to music and how your own music has evolved. Um, and one of the things that we wanted to ask you about was, has that and how has that changed or influenced the way you teach music?
Yeah,
Has that, how does that come into your teaching
I
process?
don't teach much nowadays, so I don't know. Yeah, I think that from the initial, well, there's two things. No, one, initially I was also taking students who were at a more beginner stage. One, that's also true. Than the students who have joined me a little later. Right? So I'm just saying that the starting point is slightly different. I mean, you guys, Vignesh probably came later, but if you see every other, Ravi and Vignesh, probably both of you came with their foundations and with their pretty more than in place. But if you take Rithvik and Vikram and Vidhya at different levels, you came in earlier in your musical growth. Okay, so. So that is one thing that changes the way you teach fundamentally. I'm just saying that it changes the way I taught Rithvik is different way I taught Vidya, or the way I taught Vikram or Ravi and Vignesh. But other than that, I think that initially every teacher imitates what their teacher taught, the way that their teacher taught them. I mean, that's your only reference point of teaching, right? You teach like you were taught to a large extent. Of course, your own character is there, your own personality is there, but I think in terms of how you teach, to a large extent, you are picking off what you have seen. For me, I think I did that also. I think initially that's what I was doing. But I think as my own thought processes changed in music, not just the way I sang, but the thought processes, I think that the way what I expected the students to explore in music has also changed to a large extent. Or how you explore, or how you internalize, And there's one thing that I have been able to do for myself is articulate things that usually are not articulated. Okay, that's something that I learned. I didn't have it initially, so that is why a discussion on any part of music. I like to try and find a way to communicate and articulate those things that we usually don't talk about. That's one thing that I think changed in me, is that I pushed to talk about those things that we don't talk about. Okay, and because I don't think they're non-talkable in some fashion. Okay? Because I think it is possible to go close to articulating the process. You don't need to speak about actual happening. Okay. But you can actually articulate how do you get to a point where the possibility, where your mind starts thinking in that way. See, there is too much mysticism that is associated with our music. A lot of things, it'll come. I mean, at one level, I understand it. At another level, I feel it's not necessarily true. You can't teach it, but you can teach the way to get somewhere close. So I can communicate how you need to think, or how you need to notice something, start noticing things that you don't notice. That may then lead you to that unspeakable or uncommunicatable happening. That is something that I learned. I think that has been something that I learned, and I think that has automatically translated itself in the things we do in class. The one thing that has remained constant is I feel that I must push the student as much as I can. That has not changed.
Is it like a teaching methodology in the sense that you keep it in mind at all stages of the student's learning, or is it something that you kind of ease the student in during the advanced stages? What do you think?
Well, first it depends on when the student came to you. Okay, the student came to you which required a lot of correctional work. That itself is going to take a while. Okay, first is, I think the ultimate point is the student reach the point of understanding what you're trying to communicate. That is the only thing you need to judge. Sometimes the student may not be in a position, musically and intellectually, to understand what you're trying to say. Right? At that point, you're trying to, push them to do some things that they can't comprehend at that point, is meaningless. So if you feel the students some of those things, some of those foundations, you can always put in the rigor that you already give them, or in the rote that is important also. So if the rote itself has some of those things built in, then slowly they start equipping themselves to understand the other things that you're trying to, the abstract things that you're trying to push. And that you have to judge. Nobody else can judge, only the teacher can judge. But I'm convinced that most of the singing is actually in the way you think, not in anything else. I mean, take the basic things, your instrument or your voice is in shape, and you've got the physical ability to translate your thoughts into melody or rhythm or whatever. If that is in place, most of the music is in how do you think? How open can your mind be? Okay, I'm convinced that's all it is. That's all it is.
And also in
your
the notion
mind, however, sorry.
And also in the notion of what you think is good music.
Because it's also your emotional openness. It's not just I'm not about just openness in terms of ideas. Emotionally, how open are you, right? Because if you're emotionally, and I'm not splitting the two, I'm just putting them in words, emotionally, intellectually free enough to allow your own music to overwhelm you, or allow an idea to overwhelm you, then I think you start picking up things and noticing things that you don't notice before. That is my hope in my student. Now, what is the idea of music that the student has, or what is? I mean, if you ask me what is Carnatic music, for example, I have a certain sound in my head. Everybody has that, right? We can argue that, we can counter that. There's no absolute answer to this. You can't find an absolute answer to this. But then, if there is a baseline from which you as a teacher are starting, as long as that baseline is not some, locked up locker, you're fine, right? Otherwise, because you're also going to move as a teacher, you're also going to move. You're not going to remain static. So if you allow yourself also to move, and the student then also notices you're moving, then the student also will start moving.
Okay, what's the weirdest thing that's happened during the lockdown?
Okay, Rithvik, you go first.
Weirdest thing that happened during the lockdown?
That's a good question.
That I spoke to a lot of people that I haven't in a long time, and it's actually been great at kind of finding relationships that were lost for quite some time. It's been, I mean,
can I ask why you called them?
No, it's because we reached out to each other, or a bunch of us started playing games online that we used to play during school. But one guy works in Singapore, a couple of them work in Europe now, one guy works in London, and we all got back in touch after almost 3-4 years. But the WhatsApp group that we had 3-4 years was still there. So a lot of people whom I'd probably forgotten over the last few years, we all kind of got back in touch. So it's been weird making those connections again, but it's been great. So I would say that's been interesting, this lockdown.
Vidhya, what about you? The weirdest thing that happened during the lockdown? And for the record, it's been extended to until May 31st. It's not yet over.
Yeah, it's not yet over.
I don't know, I think you can come back to me.
Okay. Ravi?
Have you...
Weirdest thing, it's pretty much, nothing's been weird actually. It's been, I realized that, on a lighter note, I realized that I used to be quarantined like this even the rest of the time, and I just gave it a name.
It's a good one. Vikram?
I was trying to think of an incident. I don't have an incident, but I think I was telling Vignesh the other day, I actually don't mind being at home all the time, and I'm actually coming to enjoy it. So it'll be weird for me when this lockdown is over.
Which is why I keep telling you guys that you have to start stepping out. I step out.
Yeah,
I think
started
for me,
stepping out quite a long time ago.
Yeah, I started stepping out. Then going to the grocery shop, going to locally, working out. Yeah, because I just felt that the truth of the matter is that we have to start. We have to expose ourselves. Take all the precautions. Of course, wear your mask. Don't unnecessarily go anywhere. But at the same time, life is never going to flip back. That one morning you get up, COVID-19 disappear. All you guys, it's not going to, right? So the point is that I think it's important, especially for all of us who have the privilege of sitting in this house, having rooms, and let's remember that most people don't have that, right?
Yeah.
There are 5 people living in one room, right? So I just I felt for a long time that I need to go out. I'll wear a mask. I will keep physical distance, but you need to get out because you need to expose yourself to that kind of a normalcy also. So I did not really stay locked down except for the period when you were told specifically that you can't even go out, right? Once you could go out to the local store or you could go do a local thing, I did my walk. I walked around because for me that was important. The weird thing was not doing that. It was important. So I think a lot of people are just staying at home, probably just going to shop once in 10 days or something. Otherwise, just staying indoors. I think you have to break it at some point of time. You just have to break it and start taking a walk in the evening or doing something that, because that's what it's going to be. That's the That's where you need to be finally at some point of time, right? And you can't just jump into it. Weird-wise, actually, not too many weird things have happened. One thing I enjoyed doing is during this whole period was gardening. So that was great. Taking care of the garden was fabulous. So that's something I did even before, but now I could do it with more focus and make sure that things were done. So that was actually good fun. Other than that, I have 5 dogs outside the house. They are not puppies. That one is not a puppy. In fact, so it's kind of become bigger. The little one. The puppies has become a puppy. I don't know where the other ones went. But this guy, actually, that was the other thing. The one fell sick and had the kind of a rash all through the body. You couldn't do anything during the lockdown. And then there was this one help guy who came in his jeep and he gave him medicine. Now he's much better. So feeding the dogs, according to everybody in the family, I spend more time talking to dogs than anything else.
You were on a call with us and you were talking to the dogs.
Okay, thank you. So there are about 5 dogs outside. So that's nice. So yeah, I think the interesting thing when you go out is you notice things on the road not the road, but in terms of the trees and the flowers, etc., that you didn't notice before because of the traffic.
Correct.
That is very interesting. So like when I went out to we had to do some COVID related work, so I'd driven somewhere and close by, and I noticed the bougainvilleas. I've seen stunning, and I had never noticed them. Simple reason that there were cars and there was bustling traffic, and you're more looking at the road, right? So that is also very interesting that you notice things because of less traffic.
Do you think it's also the mindset?
No, I don't know. I think that's because of the traffic, no, because of people. Because there are less people on the road. You're also observing, right? There's not so many impulses hitting your brain at the same time.
Another thing is you don't have to be anywhere at a certain time, or
Yeah, that's true.
you just on the road.
I actually feel like the nature, the birds, and all of them have come out alive and are doing much better without human interference.
I don't know. I mean, we have to wait for some environmentalists to get back to us about that. But I guess we don't know. Actually, that's an interesting thing that people also talk about.
But Anna, one validated fact I know in our office in Bangalore, there was a python that entered the premises. So
there was also a leopard somewhere, I think, in Hyderabad.
That's not the kind of thing that I was referring to. I was
so.
Rithvik,
in that case,
more parrots gathering on the tree outside the balcony, thing like that.
So when a python comes on the road, your sights and sounds will increase.
So yeah.
No, but I definitely. So that's the thing. I don't know if I am seeing more birds because I am now looking, or if there are actually more birds.
We don't know. That's the whole thing. No, we don't know. Like we don't know. But one thing is, see, where I stay is kind of quieter, right? So there's always been birds on these trees and all that. There's always been one snake that goes through our garden every other day. Now actually the snake has not been around for a while. I don't know where it's gone. But I'm saying even the road, we don't know. I mean, it's an interesting thing. I think environmentalists probably will tell us what really happened, during the lockdown because people stayed at home. What were the changes that happened? It'll be interesting to learn about it, I guess. But knowing us, we are all going to jump onto the streets and the roads very fast as soon as we can, right? Yeah. Also, at some level, many people you have to. You just have to find a way to, get a meal on the table. So that's also a reality. Right. I think it's just so many. What do you say? Not contradicting, but conflicting kind of ideas and emotions that traverse these kind of conversations, right? Because when you say one thing, you always know there's another side to that same thing. Yeah. Like Vikram, when you say I'm very comfortable sitting at home, there's another side to it.
I said that and I felt guilty for saying that.
Exactly. Also. No, but that's what I'm saying. No, that's also the struggle of having these kind of conversations. Right? Because it's true. It is true. You feel more comfortable. You can't deny that that's real, and it's not. It's unfair not to deny yourself the feeling of the comfort. Correct. But then you have that other side, and then at one side we say nature's doing so much better without us. But then that's not practically possible for most of humanity. So I mean, this contradiction. I think that's where the interesting parts and the weirdness also lies, is to constantly see that contradiction and in some level, grapple with it permanently.
Okay, so this is going to be hopefully an interesting round for all of us, because for a change, all of us here are going to ask the questions, and hopefully we'll get some interesting answers from Krishna here. So we've come up with a list of questions, and one of us would ask them here. Yep.
Okay, this is basically strategically planned, putting me in the dock system.
Yeah, but
Very
you
much.
know that I'm the one editing the video, so I can remove what you just said.
Okay, shoot.
Last book you read.
Last one was a biography on Carnatic. That was the last book I read, written by Vasanthi.
Okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve? That my biggest pet peeve is when people are not quick enough to understand what is being said.
What?
When people are not quick enough to understand what is being said.
I'm just kidding. Okay. What's
Go.
one thing you're afraid of?
One thing I'm afraid of.
Have to be faster.
But that's a tough one. One thing I'm really afraid of, I don't know actually. Next. Probably snakes.
Snakes. Okay. If your life was made into a movie, who would you want to play you?
There's nobody alive who can play me.
No, you have to answer.
Who would I want to play me if it was made into a movie? Oh, shoot. Among what? Contemporary, like Indian actors, American actors? Give me some, like...
Anybody.
Anybody.
Anybody alive.
Anybody alive, right? So, Setupon actor la solla mudiyadhu. Okay, shoot. Brad Pitt.
When was the last time you practiced?
Last time I practiced, I have no memory. I mean, like practice, right? Sit down and did sadhakam?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't practice that way, so I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. What was the last piece of music you heard?
The last piece of music was Eminem yesterday in the car, which Ananta was playing.
Okay. The first thing you do every morning?
First thing I do every morning is pee.
Who's your favorite student?
Oh, my favorite student? It keeps changing depending on the emotions of the day.
If you had to be quarantined with 5 living Carnatic musicians, who would you choose?
5 living Carnatic musicians.
Yeah.
Quarantined.
Yes.
You're serious?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, many of them are my friends. So the reason is that okay?
Yeah, anyone.
Yeah. Then very simple. Then Sriram, Arun, Guru Prasad. Then 2 more. Quarantined. I should keep that in mind. Sangeeta Shivakumar. Last but not the least, who can it be? Older musician, somebody. Who will be quarantined with? TK Murthy. TK Murthy. That'll be fun.
When's the last time you worked out?
Day before yesterday.
And last thing you cooked?
Oh, that's very rare, but the last thing I made was a salad.
Last thing you watched?
You don't cook a salad, do you?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's you make it. So
It's
I mean,
not
last thing I
cooking.
cooked was an omelette for myself. If that's what you consider cooking.
Sure.
What's
Yeah.
the last thing you watched on Netflix?
I just watched what's that called? It's about the genes. It's a documentary. I'm a kind of a binge watcher of documentaries. So I've been watching one on the genome, on the human genome.
Okay, that's the end of this.
Yeah,
That
not bad. I was pretty fast. I was not slow.
Yeah.
was really-
No,
That's
except for the
nice.
first 2-3. Then I kind of was quick.
You don't want to be quarantined with any of us, is it?
Sure.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot about you guys completely.
How very inspiring, Anna.
You noticed the number was 5 and there's 5 of us here.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that at all.
Subtle hint. Just a very subtle hint.
Oh, okay. That was the idea. I said, okay, sorry, I lost it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the latest project that you've been thinking of?
Well, there's some things that I don't like to talk about because they are still very nascent in terms of ideas. That there are many ideas, projects in terms of doing things for community or part of community work is a thing. Also, some musical ideas. There's a raga I've been working on for some time now. Got back to it yesterday again after it was in kind of cold storage. Idea I came up, like most artists like to say that it came up one morning. I started some. I must say that it came up actually in the Himalayas. So, but it's been lying dormant for a while. So I picked it up again yesterday. So the idea, let's see how it pans out. If it comes out, then it'll be interesting. So this it'll be interesting because it's not a scale, so it's interesting.
Right. Any other project, Anna, that you're thinking of?
Other than that, yeah, there's another musical idea also, which is very nascent. Idea I came up with only yesterday, so that needs some time. Ideas kono korchile kariyadu. The whole day is available to think of ideas.
Right. Okay.
Question is how
So
many of them can actually happen. How many of them will move from. I mean, sometimes ideas are also some things you just cannot do. They just like, you have to drop. There's no which to drop.
yeah. So how do you
So let's
filter that
see.
out?
No, one is first is whether it is actually a idea that can lead somewhere. Sometimes it is just something whimsical that strikes you, which you need to drop. But if it can, second is do you have the bandwidth to do it? How long does something like that take? If it's something that's longer, then you say, okay, I plan for it slowly. If it's something that needs to be done now, so there are a few ideas, few things that I would like to do now in terms of community work as soon as possible. So that I'm thinking more about. And musical ideas are always there. So
What are your thoughts on composing?
I can't. I mean, if you're talking about lyrical composing that has lyrics,
Akriti. Let's be specific.
yeah, my
Composition.
problem is that my language skills are pretty low. I mean, I can't write text, and I don't want to just write cut and paste text. That's very simple to do. That any of us can do.
Or
We know so enough kirtanams to be able to take, but that's not genuine writing. So I can't write creatively. So I won't consider myself. I won't do that. Which is why I like to work with people who can write creative. So that's also a couple of projects that are on the table. I've suggested a few ideas to Murugan sir, a few themes that I want to explore lyrically, which have not been explored in Carnatic music. But that also takes time because he sends something and then I have to look at it, work on it, see if it works. So I prefer to do the melodic and just the musical part and get people who truly can write musically or who can write poetry to do that part because I can't.
right now.
So
Can I
this
ask
is
a follow-up?
Perumal Murugan, right? Perumal Murugan.
Yeah, this is Murugan in Tamil. Yes.
Can I ask a follow-up
Yes.
question on that?
Mm.
When you're somebody who looks at music as art music, where lyrics take not necessarily the same amount of precedence as the melody itself, then how do you reconcile that when you work with lyrics as the focus in terms of what you want to explore in your compositions like this?
It's not lyrics as a focus, but I just want to say one thing. It's first correction. I don't think I've said that. I don't think that the semantic meaning is the focus of art music. I've not said text is not the focus. They're two different things because text is also a sonic body. But I've also said this many times that I've moved, my position is moved from that, shall we say, absolute position of semantic meaning not having any role. Because I think through my exploration and I still stand by the fact that semantic meaning is irrelevant to art music. But I also realize that we as a species process the world by the word, understand the world by word. Therefore, how I look at text and semantic meaning in text today is that a way by which also you can make people be more open? Is that a way by which you can also push them closer to abstraction? Because I think, for example, what themes do we explore in Carnatic music? Or what kind of words we use in Carnatic music? These are all more or less fixed, right? Now, by pushing those boundaries, you're still pushing people, you're widening the ambit even within the semantic, first, as step one. Now, as you keep widening it, is it possible that the human being flows to the point where he or she says, it doesn't matter what you sing about, the profundity is still there. So to move to a position of meaningless profundity, I felt that it is important that meaning itself needs to be expanded. If you expand meaning and then slowly you can move that. So therefore, when I sing new text today, I don't sing new text of anything, right? I sing new text that pushes the boundaries of text itself. So it is a conscious act, okay? But there is also, one question that is very difficult for me to answer when asked. If I say, I do say that it's completely sound. So like a school student asked me once, then will you sing a song that extols violence? Can I sing it and say, I'm sorry, this is art music? Meaning doesn't matter to me. So, it's actually a complicated situation, right? For example, I am very uncomfortable singing the Shlokam Shringaram Kshitrijanina because I do not agree with the way Shurpanakha is portrayed in that description. Hasyam Shurpanakha Mukhe. Just think of it. Is it a joke? I'm just trying to complicate my own stance, and I have no problems in complicating my own stance. Is that these also make you wonder, right? So I don't know whether there is a right answer to it. While, yes, art music is not stuck in the literal, yes. But what are the shades of the abstract is the point that I find. And I think from my initial position where I negated the possibility of the abstract even within the semantic, I'm now also, I also feel strongly that there is an abstract even within the semantic world. And as you move that more and more, maybe you can then get to a sonic abstract. But you will still grapple with these conflicts and you can't run away from it.
Yeah. But I have an important question now. When is next class?
I think we'll end on that note. Class, actually, we will have class, but class is very difficult. I find it very hard to have 10, 15 people all mute watching it.
That's the new normal, Anna. Welcome to the new normal.
That was something that I was going to ask you, because a lot of people who aren't able to come to class in person are also free at home. So a lot more classes are happening online. So maybe the solution is to take one-on-one classes and not as a group.
No, which means I can't do anything else in my life.
Nice try. Rithvik.
Okay.
It was fun catching up now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. Vidhya.
We need to do the real thing, though.
What is that? Meet. Yes. Hopefully we can do that. And unfortunately, we all live in a city which is a hotspot, which is why we are unable to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I guess sometime soon we should be able to do this. But all you guys need to get onto the street and walk.
Yeah.
Do that. Don't be lazy and sitting at home.
I just have to say that when I hear the word hotspot, I still think of 4G sharing from a phone.
Okay, bye.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. See you.